All right, as the clock chimes the top of the hour, our first guest knows about determination, optimism, and defying the odds. Now, despite being born with a congenital condition, it could be called a birth defect, it could be called a physical challenge, whatever you want to put on it, it's not a term that stopped Roger Crawford, that's for sure. He became an NCAA Division I champion in tennis and a pro tennis player as well.
The man has done so much and done so much so well. His story was the basis of an Emmy Award-winning movie, and Roger has traveled the world sharing his story that has inspired so many people. Roger, welcome to Live at 9. Glad to have you back
so much.
in Memphis, Tennessee. I guess first and foremost, we were talking a little bit earlier about the Michael Orr story, about self-determination.
Very inspiring.
Where did you find that for yourself in everything that you've gone through in your own life?
You know, I think first of all, it came from my parents. You know, my father used to say to me, Roger, don't spend a lot of time living in pity city. You know, he was communicating to me that I didn't need to spend a lot of time feeling sorry for myself, that I just need to do the best I could with what I had. And you know, Mary Beth, you talked about the term physically challenged or disabled.
I bet you hate those terms.
Well, you know, my daughter gave me the best explanation of my physical challenge. She says, Dad, you were born to be an inspirational speaker. You got a peace sign in one hand, a thumbs up on the other. So I just go with that. You know?
What a great way, what an incredible way to look at it.
I like that a lot better than physical.
I can imagine you do, Roger. Do you see yourself like that now, you know, as your daughter put it to you?
You know, Alex, here's how I look at my life. I think that everybody faces challenges. The only difference is some challenges you can see and some you can't. But it seems to me that the challenges that ultimately disable us, they're usually self-imposed. They're the ones we create for ourselves. You know, the ones from the neck up, self-doubt, anxiety. That's what holds us back. It's usually not something physical. I mean, if I'd live my life all over again, I wouldn't change my hands or my legs. I mean, there's some things I would change. Certainly.
Okay, like?
Not my hands or my legs. We have like
no, we don't have. It's only an hour-long show. No, but okay. So, is part of the problem that if someone doesn't have an apparent challenge, they don't realize that their attitude is in the wrong place and that their challenge is inside. They don't even recognize it as a challenge.
You know, I don't think, Mary Beth, that it requires a physical challenge to be aware of that. One message that I try to communicate to audiences is the greatest resource that we have in our lives is our ability to choose our attitude. So there's a lot in life we're unable to choose, out of our control, but we can choose our attitude. And see, what attitude does for us, number one, is it alerts us to opportunities before they become obvious. The reason attitude's so important, I don't think people ever perform better than they believe they can. See, in my own life, I think, you know, I'd rather have one leg and an optimistic attitude than two legs and a pessimistic attitude.
Amen, brother.
Truly.
So, Roger, with that in mind, how does one go about choosing that right attitude? Because a lot of folks might say, I don't know how to get from here to there and be positive at the same time. How do we do it?
Oh, I think that's a great question, Alex. I think first and foremost, I think it's separating what you can control and what you can change from what you can't. See, no matter how optimistic I am, I'm likely not going to develop more fingers. That's the way it is. That's the fact.
Right.
Okay?
So you can either let that stop you or...
Exactly. Or you spend time focusing on what you can control and what you can change. Number two, I think it's important that you focus in on the benefits of being optimistic. It doesn't change your reality. Okay, but what it does do is it gives you more enthusiasm. It gives you the ability to strive for your potential to reach a little higher. I'll give you just a quick example. I, for the longest time, felt that I needed a new pair of hands. For people watching today, they've had similar thoughts. Maybe it's not about their hands, maybe it's about their job or whatever it may be in their life. They say, gosh, if I could change this or that, then my life would be perfect. That's what I thought. I got a new pair of hands. Nice long fingers, everything I had dreamed of. I remember thinking, what do people do with 10 fingers? I'm poking myself in the eye and everything. But I still couldn't find the courage to take my hands out of my pockets. I removed those artificial hands. But I had a teacher that said this to me, Roger Crawford, you'll never reach higher with your hands in your pockets.
Wow.
And I think that's an important message for all of us. It's really about taking action. It's striving to reach a little higher. Because wouldn't you agree that, you know, most often people, they underestimate themselves, right? And then they overestimate others.
Yep,
I mean, The Blind Side's a perfect example of that, isn't it? What a great story that is.
Absolutely.
So, Roger, did it take you a while to really believe in what you're saying here? Because obviously this was something that just didn't dawn on you, I'm sure, overnight, to have the attitude that you have now.
Oh, it certainly didn't happen overnight. It's something that, you know, I've developed over the years. But I think for me, I started to see the tremendous benefits of being optimistic, staying motivated. And when I was able to look at those benefits and dwell on those, then that's what really sustained my attitude. I like to say it this way. I think that our lives, when it's all said and done, I think are ultimately defined by what we choose to dwell on. I mean, do we dwell on problems or possibilities or opportunities or obstacles? And we've seen that, haven't we, during this economic downturn?
Absolutely.
You know, you hear a lot of people say, hey, you know, I'll be a lot more positive when things get back to normal.
If you're positive, you can bring them back to where you want. What about those folks who say, well, he's naturally optimistic? You know, people tend to think that you're born with a glass half full or a glass half empty attitude. If you lean more on the glass half empty attitude, how much can you control? Do you have to actually physically put yourself in that positive place?
No question. Attitudes are volitional. There's something that we control the quality and we control the content of our thoughts. And really, the better that we choose to think, then likely the better results we're going to get. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, no, go ahead.
No. But as far as putting yourself in that place, I think it's just having this awareness that, yes, number one, I do have control of my attitude. I can control my self-talk.
So when you have a negative thought come in, do you automatically say, no, wait a minute, and find a way to spin that?
I look for the alternative thought.
Wow. So, Roger, do you also apply this to business? Do you obviously apply this to sports or life overall?
Oh, sure. I think that for us, you know, being optimistic is valuable no matter what your endeavor. I think it has tremendous benefits. So certainly I apply it in business and, you know, a lot of different groups. I was here in Memphis to speak for the Prosperity Series and just had a fantastic time. And so the message that I shared with the group yesterday was, you know, challenges in life are inevitable. You know, defeat's optional. You know, it's been a difficult couple of years economically, but let's look ahead with hope and possibility, because we're going to find motivation. We're going to find what it takes today if we see hope and possibility tomorrow.
Absolutely.
You know, when people are discouraged, oftentimes they're looking in their past, they're reliving past hurts, and then they rehearse future disappointments. What I want to encourage people is go back into your past and rehearse those victories. Use that as a template for future achievement.
And then you project a happier image and positive.
Keep spreading the word as you always do.
Well, thank you for having me.
His website on the screen, rogercrawford.com. Such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Glad to have you back here.
A peace sign.
All right.
Peace.
Always,
There you go.
always peace.
I want to meet your daughter.
That's it.